You are listening to the Gentleman Scofflaw podcast. Listener beware.
Rise and shine, the liquor store is open. I ain't got time for moping. I best be on my way. Well, I still got time to save my reputation. Time to go day drinking in this dirty little town.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Gentleman Scofflaw podcast, the podcast that's for the rebel and the Renaissance man. I am your host, Jordan Crowder, and with me in studio, as usual, is my co-host, Donovan Fowler, and my other co-host, all the way in Quebec, John G. Goodman. How are you guys doing?
You know.
Hi, Jordan. Nice to be back with you guys.
Yeah. It's good to... What's that hat you got on there? Is that a... What's
Atlanta
that team?
Braves.
Atlanta Braves. What made you pick an Atlanta Braves hat?
I like the colors.
Okay.
And he hates American Indians.
Yeah.
You just love that caricature of a mascot, don't you?
Oh, gosh. All right. We've already lost listeners in the first 30 seconds of the show.
Good job, Dono.
Sorry.
Let's start with a little bit of housekeeping. What are you drinking there, Donovan?
I'm drinking a Longboard Island Lager, which is quite good. It's very smooth. Just good. A good lager to end the day with.
Yeah, I've got the same thing. We're both enjoying.
Or start the day with, you know.
And what about you, John? What do you got there?
I've got Stanley Kowalski's favorite, Stella.
There you go.
Wait. Stanley Kowalski. Wait, Kowalski.
Wait, who's that?
Wait, I know this. Kowalski.
No, you don't know this.
Okay.
Streetcar Named Desire.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. I get it.
And there you go. And I am smoking my Stanwell brushed pipe, and in it I am smoking special. It's called the Special Blend from the original Tinderbox in Santa Monica.
I've been there. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Smells nice.
Awesome blends over there.
Sadly enough, they're actually closing.
Yeah, it sucks.
This week they're closing. So if you live in the LA area or you're a pipe smoker and want to go to, do like a kind of road trip to a pipe smoking mecca, you got to go. They're closing on the 5th.
Yeah, I mean, what did you say? It's one of the oldest pipe tobacco stores in the United States.
It is. And this segues into who our guest later, who also owns one of the oldest tobacco shops in the country, John David Cole. He's the resident owner and tobacconist at the Country Squire in Jackson, Mississippi. So we'll ask him all of our pipe and tobacco questions, which seems to be a theme on this show.
We got to play that Johnny Cash song too. I'm going to Jackson.
Oh yeah.
So comb your hair.
It's kind of ironic that we talk about pipes and tobacco and such, and 2/3 of us have asthma.
It's true.
Hey, I only have athletic asthma.
So don't smoke while you run.
Yeah, no smoking. That's what the doc said to me. He said, smoke all you want, just don't do it while you run.
Well, how are your weeks this week, guys? I can never ask that question. It's hard talking to two people. How about you, John? How was your week?
How's your weeks this week?
I have nothing interesting.
I always feel so bad for you up there, John, because I know you're the reluctant Canadian. You just don't. We joke around about you being Canadian on this show, but you're like Norm Macdonald. You wish Canada was never born,
or you wish that we had invaded Canada
we
after
have a
1776.
lot of potential,
yeah,
but unrealized and sadly probably never to be realized.
If only it was untapped. If only that potential was tapped by the American military. Just go up there, take over,
only.
and
when I was in charge of some guys in a warehouse, I used to have this policy of pledging allegiance to the flag, but just not ours.
So wait. Did you what do you mean pledge it? Did you actually have them read the Pledge of Allegiance?
Well, those that could read, but I would kind of lead the way,
and we lost the Canadian audience, folks.
I'd lead the way, and it would kind of end with me as well, and I'd follow it up with that Toby Keith song, Red, White, and Blue. just to cap off the morning.
So you're talking about that song. I know what song you're talking about. I believe it's called Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. And it's
Whatever.
a post 9/11 song that came out in the early 2000s.
Interestingly enough, productivity
Well, we're so
went up
far
100%.
north, it takes that long for us to catch on to the hip stuff.
Is that when he's like, we'll put a boot in your ass? It's the American way.
American way.
So you were just basically trolling all your co-workers.
I did my best.
That's got to be illegal, though. Pledging
It
allegiance.
probably is.
and
Like most things up here.
No, because you have to, you have to, I think if you're Canadian, well, depending on where you are, you have to pledge allegiance to the Queen.
Oh
right?
gosh, yeah, that's no good. You're gonna get hung by the Queen of England.
That ain't no good. You're gonna be you're not just gonna be hung. You're gonna be drawn and quartered.
Oh yeah.
For those of you folks who don't know what that is, watch Braveheart.
Oh no. It always comes back to Braveheart with you. What happened in your week, Donovan?
Well, speaking of anti-Semitism,
perfect segue.
You warrior poet, you.
I just totally, I winged it. But I was actually called an anti-Semite last night,
really,
for not having seen the movie Schindler's List, which it's. I'm trying not to make a pun here. It's been in my lineup, not on my list. It's been in my lineup of movies that I've been meaning to see. But it sort of is one of those movies where I feel like you have to be in the right mindset to see it. It's not like it's not like you kick back on a Friday night and you're like, 6-pack of beer, I'm going to watch Schindler's List. Let's do
beer
this.
and some dominoes. Let's do this.
To be fair, as a child, I did see the actual footage of them liberating the camps. So, I feel like you can't get closer to the Holocaust than that. But, and also, I know what Hollywood's track. I'm not accusing Steven Spielberg of being inaccurate or anything, but I'm saying you typically don't get your history from movies, in my experience.
Yeah.
Speaking of Braveheart, like that movie is all over the place. Like, Battle of Sterling happened at a bridge, not on a, actual field.
In Schindler's List, I know you haven't seen it, but they do this really interesting, I believe it's called it's a filmmaking trick where everything in the movie is black and white, except for this
girl.
One girl that's in red. I don't know how they do it.
Oh, you know
it's
how
the only color in the movie, guys.
I figured this out recently. No. I actually have seen that clip, and I thought about it, and then I researched it because my brain doesn't.
A lot of people think it was a pretty cheesy way to do that.
I don't know. I remember Spielberg seeing an interview with him talking about it, and he explained his reasoning behind it, and it seemed to hold up. But I think what they did was there's certain film, so there's a film trick where you can only expose for certain colors or something like that. Right. And if you have everybody else dress in like another color and I just all of a sudden had a vision of Steven Spielberg painting all of his actors, like body paint, like painting them black and white like those street performers do. And having everybody walk around and painting the set black and white and then having the little girl in color. But anyways, I think I remember him talking about how the symbolism of that was that, it was like supposed to call out those people who knew about the Holocaust and ignored it.
Just didn't do it.
That like it's so obvious or something. But
and that's another movie that you have to watch The Lovely Bones to pick up your spirits after.
Or Gremlins. I could make it a double feature with 2 movies I haven't seen Schindler's List. Gremlins, Hotel Rwanda, Birth of a Nation,
Exactly.
Whatever.
It's just all
on the same subject.
It's a nice weekend lineup.
It is. It is.
I heard about this thing this week. I don't know if you heard about this. This might be old news, but I somehow stumbled upon it. There's this group of people called, I believe it's called
Airarists
or Airwarists, and they
from
are
Air
people,
ISIS.
They are people that cook with different. They basically sample air quality from different cities, and they use it to make like meringue and stuff in their desserts and cooking.
Oh gosh, that just.
What a waste of
Isn't
time.
that like a joke? Isn't that like a joke in South Park where like they go to San Francisco and everybody's like, farting into glasses and smelling it like they're like at a wine and cheese party, but but they're all like so obsessed with themselves that just sounds stupid. It's definitely a
pretentious thing, but I guess they think I guess it's kind of like water quality, like certain hard or soft water will affect how soaps work or whatever, or maybe how certain things cook. I guess they think that air quality affects the way things taste.
I mean, is
meringue still a thing?
It is, so, right? Unfortunately. Yeah, lemon meringue, meringue.
Yeah.
I always I have a roommate who shall remain nameless who came back from a certain foreign country.
Only two other ones, so
no, there's three.
There's three.
Well, there's three roommates. But he came back from a certain country south of us and asked us all to keep the windows closed here in LA. And I was like, why? And he's like, oh, the air quality is just so bad here. And I was like, well, deal with it. It just seemed like such a high and mighty request.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was very pretentious.
I think that the air quality in an apartment with three guys would be just as bad.
Yeah, I know. That's that's damn near toxic.
Oh, yeah. There's some black mold growing in the laundry in the seat of your pants. Oh. All right. Well, let's... Speaking of air quality, now it's time for...
Listener mail.
And if you listen to the show, you can interact with us on social media, send us an email, or leave us a voicemail at man81scoff, 2 Fs. The links to all our social media and our contact page are on our website, gentlemanscofflaw.com. And if you leave an iTunes review, you'll get a chance to get it read on the show. And we have a couple of iTunes reviews here. John, what does that first one say?
All right, this one's by Lionel Hardcastle. He says, there is an easy and comfortable rapport between these three hosts, perhaps because they are gently puffing pipes and tippling drinks while they talk, or perhaps because they are good friends. Whatever the case, listening to their conversation is a delight.
Oh, thank you, Lionel.
Thank you, Lionel Hardcastle.
Maybe it's ironic that we read that review right after talking about the air quality in men's apartments.
Yeah, indeed.
What does that other one say, Donovan?
This is the title is A Rousing Grab Bag of Hilarity and Intrigue, 5 stars. Or no, that's 5 stars, yeah.
You can count.
I can. I passed first grade.
You get a star. Just one.
By the Tin Society. This is a great podcast. The banter between the hosts is funny and playful, and the subject matter is interesting and creative. I love the intros and what the hosts are drinking/smoking, and the bathroom reviews are great. It's a fun podcast to listen to with a bowl of good tobacco and a cold beer. Good job, guys. Keep it up.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, the Tin Society.
I think we should have Jordan do a bathroom review of Donovan's house.
We can do that. I have to get over there. I have to go all the way over to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And then we got this other review by Darren Jr., also 5 stars. Everyone's giving us 5 stars. They're very generous. I appreciate it, but I want them to be honest.
I bet you it's like Uber drivers where you're like, I didn't really like this guy.
I would go out of my way to thumb in that 4-star.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my brother, interestingly enough, doesn't have a 5-star Uber rating.
Really?
When we were in New York, like a few months ago, one of the drivers, when he picked him up, he's like, you don't have a very good Uber rating. He's like, wait, customers get an Uber rating?
Oh, I forgot that. Yeah, I forgot that.
But you can get, and it's because his Uber rating was like 4 and 3/8 stars or whatever it was. The average was, and that was considered bad.
Did you ever hear that guy about that guy who what's his name from TJ? I'd say TJ Hooker, but it's not TJ Hooker. It's TJ Miller, I think, from Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
He slapped an Uber driver. I wonder what that gets you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's celebrities.
Yeah, seriously.
All right. So Darren Jr. says, Darren spelled Daron, which is, I've never seen that before. My dad's name is Darren, and his is spelled RRIN.
It's different.
All right. It says, can't wait to see it grow. Love that you start with what you're drinking and what pipes you're smoking. As a fellow pipe smoker enthusiast, of all things gentlemanly, this podcast is a perfect fit. Definitely a fan. All right. Well, thank you, Darren. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
it seems
Darren.
like people do like that we do that. At first, I wasn't sure if it was going to connect with a lot of people, us smoking the pipes on the show, because I know it's kind of a weird thing that I'm into, and Donovan too. And
I don't know, man. Is General MacArthur weird? Was J.R.R. Tolkien weird? There's a lot of pipe smokers out there. A lot of them are dead.
We got to bring it back. And that's what this episode's all about, because we've got Tobacco Jesus on later on. And let's go to a listener voicemail.
Hey, Jordan, John, and Donovan. My question is, what's your favorite pipe tobacco of all time? Like your go back to it anytime you've gotten burnout on what other varieties you enjoy on a regular basis, and it's just your go-to everyday pipe tobacco. Thanks for the time.
Well, thank you for that. I believe that was from Tim Drake, because he's called in before. And the truth is, after I just got done saying I'm into pipes, I don't smoke a pipe daily. So I don't have a daily regular go-to, but I guess if I do, it would be Lane 1Q, which is like the basic bitch of tobaccos. It's not anything fancy. It's kind of like the standard everybody thinks of what their grandfather smoked. It's kind of got a little bit of a kind of whiskey and vanilla kind of scent and taste to it. And I enjoy that. So if I were to pick one thing that I would go back to when I get tired of everything else, that would be it. How about you, Donovan? Do you have one?
I would have to go with the North Sea, which is a blend from Tinderbox, actually.
Oh man!
So yeah, it's
you got to stock up on that then.
Yeah, I do. I have to go in there and ask for the jar next time.
Or you could just go in the back and steal the recipe.
That's true. That's true. I bet they wouldn't. I bet they wouldn't. They wouldn't fight. Well, actually, no. I don't want to say that because they'll probably come after me. But
they will.
But yeah, I could probably do it.
I go the other way with these pipes. I've just been pretending all this time. Sometimes what I do is I throw in a couple of chocolate chips and a mini marshmallow and have myself a s'more.
Oh, man. Way to build a cake on
Sometimes
your pipe.
I throw a little bit of crack in there, you know?
Oh, gosh.
It gets real good.
All right.
Does
That's
that make
enough.
me a crackhead?
That's enough. All right. We're going to take a quick break for one of our affiliates, and we'll be back with John David Cole after the break. This part of the show is brought to you by Phoenix Shaving, makers of the most excellent aftershaves, shaving soaps, and all things traditional man. One of my favorite products of theirs are their aftershaves. Phoenix Shaving intentionally blurs the lines between traditional aftershave and classic cologne. Each batch of aftershave cologne is created by using traditional perfuming methods, giving the wearer a high dose of quality skin food matched by the staying power of berry white. Now, I tell you, this stuff is amazing. It'll make your skin feel great after a shave, and the alum and menthol just removes all irritation and razor bumps. They have classic barber scents and even more creative soap and aftershave fragrances. Like, my favorite is the Tombstone scent. It smells like leather, tobacco, and gunpowder. Pretty unique. So ditch those vials of chemicals you buy at the drugstore every month and grab some artisan soap and aftershaves from Phoenix Shaving. Go to gentlemanscofflaw.com/shave to help support the show and get some fantastic manly grooming products. Phoenix Shaving. Shaving outside the box. All right, I'm really excited to have this guest. I've been a fan of his podcast for a while called The Country Squire Radio, and he is a tobacconist extraordinaire. I guess people have deemed him the Tobacco Jesus. John David Cole, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, Jordan, how are you, brother?
We're good. This is going to be fun. So you have a podcast that I discovered when I started pipe smoking, because this day and age, it's kind of it's hard to learn the art of pipe smoking other than having the internet resources available to you. There's not a lot of like people around that'll teach you. I mean, I live in LA where every tobacco shop is basically a head shop. So it's
Exactly.
hard to find an old school tobacconist, and you're a young guy. I mean, how did you get into being a tobacconist?
Man, what a great question. And to the Tobacco Jesus reference, it's funny. I think you could name anyone with with long hair, a scruffy beard, and a regular habit of smoking a pipe, Tobacco Jesus. I don't have the magical powers or anything, and we'll leave it at that. But man, yeah, it's funny. When I was how did I even get into pipe smoking?
Yeah,
when
exactly.
I was 18. When I was 18, I had a lot of friends that were, dabbling in cigarettes and things like this. And, I have always had a little chip on my shoulder. I was a short kid, wasn't athletic, and, never really stood out to girls or anything. So I just always had to try to do something to set myself apart.
Yeah.
And at 18, all my friends were in the South, so there's a lot of chewing tobacco and stuff like that. And, cigarettes, and I was just like, forget this. I'm smoking a pipe. I'm gonna be the pompous know-it-all that that just has all the answers and is gonna try to channel Mark Twain or something and smoke a pipe. And so I did, man. I picked up my first pipe at Walgreens drugstore here and grabbed a Dr. Graybo and some, Captain Black white label tobacco.
There you go.
And just got started like that. That was many moons ago. But never in a million years thought it would lead to a career in the industry. Certainly in anything tobacco. I had my eyes set on very different things. But anyway, it wound up here.
Yeah. And well, how did you end up, you have your own shop. So, I mean, you must have had to do some training and stuff. I mean, what's the story of how you got to owning your own shop?
Dude, it is out of control, and it really is one of those things where you just don't know where you're going to land,
Yeah.
So I got a degree from Mississippi State University in history. And I was one of these, people that was going to go to law school and do politics and save the world and all the other stuff. And like most millennials, got out of college and was just hit in the face with the reality that, the rest of the world didn't fawn over me and immediately need my services. And I was looking for my corner office and couldn't find it.
I was too.
I thought they were going to hand me, my wife and my picket fence and all those things. And for some reason, it didn't happen. So, just floundered for several years. I was in real estate, did financial advising for a while,
Oh, wow.
Which is hard to believe. Yeah, I wore a suit every day. Crazy. And, started a couple of marketing firms. I mean, just real small time stuff. I was a paralegal for a while, did a little bit of everything. And,
oh, wow.
It's funny, I'd always had people tell me that, I'm a good listener. And you get to the point where you're just like, well, what the hell? I might as well try something with that. So I went to, there's a seminary here in Jackson called Reformed Theological Seminary.
Okay, cool.
And it has a counseling program. And I happen to know some people out there. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go be a counselor. And so I went to this school, RTS, and studied therapy for a while. And for a part-time job, I got a job selling pipe tobacco for this 90-year-old woman. Her name was Gwen Reeves, and she was the owner and founder of a little shop called the Country Squire. Wow. And she hired me and took a chance on me. And I got to work with her for about 10 months, not quite a year. And she was this venerated woman in the tobacco community, particularly here in the South. The Country Squire is one of the oldest tobacconists in the Southeast. And when you're in the South, anytime you've got old attached to your name, you're really proud of that. And you try to tell everybody as often as you can and all this kind of stuff. But Mrs. Reeves was just a very, very kind, tender woman and knew a lot about tobacco, even though she never smoked a pipe. And it was really neat just by, God's plan or whatever. I was able to work at this pipe shop long enough under her to kind of start to learn the trade. And then she died about 10 months into my working there.
Oh, wow. Pretty early on.
And so, and I was trying to do, at this point, I was around 30, but I was trying to, or no, I guess it's 28. I can't remember. But, at this point I was trying to do seminary, and then the family asked me to step in and run this shop at the same time. And so I was, juggling, full-time school with now full-time work. And, that went on for about a semester, and then I finally just couldn't do it anymore. And so I was like, well, I guess I've got a mortgage, I've got bills and debt and everything else like everyone else does. So I've got to work. And so yeah, wound up going full time at the tobacco shop and leaving school, and eventually about 4.5 years later, the family had asked me to buy or to run the shop for them after their mother passed away, and then about 4.5 years later, I had the opportunity to purchase the shop from the family. So, man, that's how I got into it. I got into it just through the back door, kind of, But it's funny. It's such a great fit because I have just enough of this counseling education to be really dangerous, and I do like listening to people. I do like talking to people, and it gives me joy to interact with people. I tell folks all the time, like, look, I love tobacco, but I'm in this business because of the people. I mean, I just love the people. Yeah. And so it's a really neat pairing. You've got this history major that, is cultured in a few things, but, kind of has this helpful maybe listening ability, and he sits down with people and smokes pipes and also blends them their favorite daily tobacco. So,
you're kind of like a bartender in that sense.
John, I really am, brother. It's crazy. Soon after, I don't know, maybe a year after Mrs. Reeves died, I started to realize what was going on in our shop, and people were coming in and they were asking for me, and then turning around and leaving if I wasn't there.
Oh, wow.
Or, just if they had to wait too long to see me or something, they'd come back when they got a chance to interact with me or something. And it was hard for me to stomach it, because I'm kind of bashful, but I started to realize, wow, people are coming to the shop because they want to see me. It's kind of weird. So, I put this little sign on the door, and it's there to this day. It says "free therapy," and it's got this little kind of bespeckled looking intellectual on it. It's kind of interesting. But I just want people to know when they come in our shop, that I'm, the guy behind their counter is kind of safe to talk to, and so that's what we try to do. You can only imagine what someone will tell you when they light up a pipe with you. All bets are off. I have heard literally everything. If it's me and one other person and we're in the pipe shop and we just lit our bowls, something magical happens where people let their guard down, and they will tell you whatever you want to know. They really will. Yeah. So it's pretty great. I love what I do. Yep.
So you also probably have a lot of dirt on people that you have at your disposal.
I do. I think, I try to stay on people's good graces and keep the quality of their tobacco up. I don't want any hits put out on me.
Well, it's funny that you're talking about this atmosphere of the shop, and I feel like nowadays that is something that's so unique. And I think it's probably a reason why things like pipe smoking, why going to traditional barbershops and stuff for millennials has become such a thing, because in the kind of this tech world, there's not that much of a, of this human connection. And I think that's why podcasts are so popular, because it feels like, it feels like I'm listening to friends, having a conversation, and there's like that intimate connection to, the people producing the podcast. So it's like, it's really cool what you're doing there. I think that's probably why there's such a resurgence in pipe smoking, but also, pipe smoking, or just smoking in general, has such a bad rap. It's almost like you have to confess to someone, like, oh, I'm a pipe smoker, and you're going to see, oh, what are they going to say? You're kind of waiting for it. Why is that? Why does it have such a bad rap, and what makes it different than cigarettes in terms of,
Yeah. you bring up in a couple of the points you just made, you bring up some interesting observations. I think, like you mentioned, our whole kind of younger age group is being drawn into things that are meaningful, things that are made, by someone's hands, small batch. We're trying to assign, some sense of meaning to things that are just kind of common and ordinary. Yeah. And I think it's because our world is changing so fast. We don't know stability like our parents did in the 70s. We don't. Not that the 70s were stable, but they didn't have Twitter. That was even before 24-hour cable news. And now it's hard even to sit down with someone across the table and not look at your phone for 5 minutes. It's just, I think our whole generation is really craving something that is timeless and something that is grounding and something that forces you to slow down. Yeah. And that's why the pipe is so beautiful, because the pipe, the pipe is not just for the end. The pipe is for the process, and it's very much a ritual. So when you're even selecting the pipe you're going to smoke, selecting the tobacco that you're in the mood for, picking out the tamp that's just right for that tobacco. Where are you, and what does that mean? How's your location going to change what you're smoking, and who you're with, and then the ritual of keeping your pipe lit, and the cadence of puffing slowly and tamping at just the right rhythm. It's this beautiful thing, right? And so I'm getting teary just talking about it. And so I think our generation is craving something like that. So you talk about the difference of smoking, and you've got cigarettes and all the tobacco products now are kind of lumped into that, and that's a byproduct of the 20th century. You've had just a rapid decline in pipe smoking, and we're seeing an uptick now, but it'll never be what it was back in the 60s and 70s or whatever. But throughout the decades, people have these cigarette companies have just put more and more stuff in their cigarettes to where the percentage of actual burley and Turkish tobacco you're smoking in these things is just very small. Yeah. And even the tobacco that's there is very poor quality. It's stems and tears and things that you've got these Chinese manufacturers making these really fancy, incredible tasting cigarettes, and they send out all their scraps over here, and then we make our little junk cigarettes with them and pump them up with all this nasty stuff, and it's just a shame, but. And so there's a difference even in what's involved in the product, but then I think the main difference, honestly, we can talk about chemicals versus non-chemicals, a natural product versus not, but with the cigarette, the whole point is different. The whole point is it's different. You're after a buzz, you're after a high, you're after that next hit to get you kind of over the next hump. Yeah. And with a pipe, obviously there's nicotine involved, but the point of the pipe is very different, and it always has been. It always has been. It's always been, as we discussed, kind of this ritual for people, and the point is the process. It's not the buzz. It's not the high. It's the process, and it is a very grounding, centered experience. And I think, the more I can have conversations with people about some of these differences, their ideas about it change pretty rapidly. You wouldn't believe the face my parents had, when they said I was going to go work 20 hours a week at a tobacco shop. I mean, these are,
and quit law school or whatever.
Conservative, small town, Southern evangelicals, they were horrified and, were calling for the preacher and all this other stuff, but not really. But, they were not, particularly happy with me, pushing tobacco.
That boy's got the devil in him.
I know, man. He's gonna be playing cards and drinking with loose women and all this stuff. But, just smoking a pipe, just like C.S. Lewis did. No big deal. anyway, I think when you do have conversations with people about the reality of it, it sets in pretty quickly. Unfortunately, and I think this is a big part of the issue today. We live in a world. We talk about trying to get away from the world, slow down, be grounding. We live in a world where the 140 count tweet or the smallest soundbite you can condense something in is what rules the day, is what rules how people think about things. And so, tobacco, therefore, is all lumped in together. The cigarette industry has done the premium tobacco industry, cigars and pipe tobacco, a really incredible disservice. And so we are stuck with that, and we have to fight that and, work through the trade organizations that we belong with to differentiate ourselves. But, it truly is, when people are shocked, non-smokers are shocked when I tell them that, most pipe smokers don't inhale their pipe. They're like, well, what's the point? And I'm like, well, let me just explain to you. But anyway, it's interesting, and we find ourselves in a world where we're have to constantly be on defense. But I think when reasonable people can sit down, we have a really good argument for doing what we do.
Yeah. And I actually today was with a friend. We kind of did a little bit of like a historic pipe shop in L.A. We went to the original Tinderbox down in Santa Monica, and then we went to Kramer's tobacco shop, which they both supplied pipe tobacco and cigars like to old-time Hollywood stars, and it was so cool to talk with a lot of these owners of these shops. And sadly enough, actually, Tinderbox is actually about to close.
Wow! Yeah, and that's the original one, right?
Yeah. And they were saying the issue is like basically, in any other circumstance, they could be, still open or at least still have their lease as a historic landmark, but because of all the negativity with tobacco in general, they just weren't able to keep their lease or get protected by, especially in California. They're pretty stringent with the laws on all sorts of tobacco, that they have to close their doors. I mean, this place has been around since the 20s. It's just insane.
Right.
So
it's like the I forget the name of the shop. It's embarrassing, but the venerated tobacconist that was in San Francisco, I can't remember the name. Was it Grants or something? But this is tobacconist that their humidor had not changed hardly at all since the 1850s. I mean, we're talking pre-Civil War, and you go in there and it's all hand carved by these first generation immigrants from the 19th century and all this stuff, and it's just like they're that's considered evil now. But you walk down the street and buy you just the finest hand-blown glass pipe you could ever imagine. So it's just interesting. I don't know. We live in very, very interesting times.
Yeah. Well, I think too, like you mentioned, that the cigarette industry has done a big disservice, and I think that's true. But I think that some of these laws too, from what I understand, and maybe we could talk about those. I mean, there's a lot of new FDA regulations that have just come out that it's really making it hard for tobacconists and people in this industry. If you want to talk a little bit about that'd be great. But I know that I think vaping has a lot to do with it. They're afraid of kids getting into vaping, and so now we've got all these other laws that affect everybody else.
Yeah, man, great point. And, I try to stay kind of apolitical when it comes to, a lot of our, tobacco talk, because, you just got people all over the map. And more than anything, I want to, be kind to people, make friends, and try to promote our hobby. But the federal government has really made it difficult for people in my situation. Here you've got, the Country Squire is 47 years old. Some of our tobacco blends, the recipes have not changed since Richard Nixon was president. Okay. It's that kind of stuff. And we still blend them by secret recipe today, using the same scale we did in 1970 and all this kind of stuff. It's just, and so you've got that much history up in it. And there's pipe shops across the world that are, much older than we are. And so these are time-honored traditions that we do. And those are things that are directly under attack today by our federal government. And, I think people that want to regulate always have some kind of good motive, or typically do. There's some kind of like, well, let's make society better, and let's we kind of have we have an idea of what works best for people, and maybe we want to save them from themselves or something. There's all kinds of reasons people get into kind of a regulatory mindset, but I think the vaping industry is kind of what did a major tip over back in 2009. All the political planets were kind of aligned to give the FDA authority over all tobacco products. And so at that time, just because who was in Congress, who was in the White House, and so on and so forth, they were able to kind of push this through and take a lot of the regulatory stuff away from the tobacco and firearms area of the government and give it to the health people. Okay. And for hobbyists interested in small batch pipe tobacco and hand rolled cigars, it was we knew something was going to be really destructive at some point. Because why have any fun at all? Even if it anyway, I could go on and on, but so basically, a lot of these were kind of adapted for the vaping industry. Folks are like, well, we need to know what's going on with these vapes. People are putting it in their bodies, so let's figure out what's involved in this. And it's funny because vaping. I don't have any scientific evidence if it's more safe than smoking a cigarette or not, but my guess is it probably is. I don't know. And, I mean, let's just take a wild guess in the dark and say, it might not be great for you, but it might be better than smoking a Camel. I don't know. What's funny is these new regulations now are virtually putting so much pressure on the vape industry that you're about to see a lot of them withdraw from the market. And so a lot of these people are going to go back to smoking cigarettes, and it's really fascinating. And we could talk about that ad infinitum, but I think in the pipe world, the practical ramifications of that for us are a small time tobacconist like me. Who, at the Country Squire, we literally hand blend all our recipes there in our shop ourselves. If you go to our website and order, literally everything that comes out of our shop is a hand blended artisan product. And this is the kind of the history of the pipe world from the beginning. It's you had all these leaves that come from all over, and it was just like your local elixir man. The guy got together and he figured out kind of which ones worked best to go for which, and which was better for this person's palate and this person's palate. And that's at an old fashioned pipe shop like the Country Squire, that's literally what we do today. So we have dozens of blends that we hand blend right there in our shop. If you order from our website, you are getting a product that my hands have personally blended. Or my assistant Caleb, one of us has personally blended it. It's got its own recipe, and we really take a lot of pride in that. And the pipe community has for centuries now. Yeah. But that is technically against federal regulation now.
Oh wow.
By the letter of federal regulation. So we have some breathing time in there. Kind of the clock is ticking. We're moving towards kind of them phasing all this completely out. But at this point currently, they've kind of got more or less, without going into all the nauseating details, there are some kind of grace periods that are in play that we're kind of wiggling through right now, where we're still able to do what we've always done. But basically by taking two different tobacco leaves and combining them together in my shop, the federal government is treating my very tiny business with the same rules that it would treat a company like Philip Morris or R.J. Reynolds. So in other words, let's say, on average at any given time, the Country Squire has 30 different tobacco blends in our on our shelf. Mm-hmm. The federal government would like us to submit each and every one of those blends for testing to them to make sure that they kind of understand what's going on with each blend, and they want to have their scientists take a look at it, and all these things. Probably do some field trials and this kind of stuff, and so and I'm literally taking tobacco leaves that are already on the market and combining them with other leaves that are on the market. So it's just this real convoluted system that folks have come up with to regulate one part of American industry. You can't even really call the vaping stuff the tobacco industry because there's no tobacco involved. No. but those things are having real ramifications on the things we do, and the cigar guys as well. You're about to see a lot of small boutique cigar blenders that are really going to suffer in the next few years. So there is some hope with all this. We've got wherever you are on it politically. Again, I try to not touch it with a 10-foot pole, but the new administration environment is a little more friendly to kind of where we're at, and so we'll see where that goes. I don't know, but I think the biggest hope we have right now is probably in the federal court system, where there's a lawsuit from our trade industry, the pipe and cigar retailers. It's kind of working its way through the court system.
That's awesome.
At the district level, and I think has a good opportunity to really carve out some exceptions for the pipe world. So we'll see where all that goes, but it has certainly stoked a kind of a live free or die fire under my table a little bit. I'd have to say. So.
Well, yeah, you don't mess with people's hobbies. People will.
It's just something to be said about letting people do what they want to do and stay out of my business.
Sure. I think that they're missing the point of smoking a pipe. Like you said, most people don't inhale, which automatically separates it so far away from cigarettes. I mean, if I walk downtown in the middle of winter and it's 40 below and I see people rushing outside to chain smoke, as quickly as they can to get their fix, you're not going to see someone out there with a pipe,
Right.
The idea of the pipe, my image is, Michael Landon sitting in his farmhouse, puffing away after having played the fiddle, and his kids are playing with their little dolls made out of wheat or whatever, That's what pipe smoking's for.
Exactly.
It's funny that, like, out of all the references for pipe smoking, you go to Michael Landon.
I won't talk about how he died of cancer. That's a completely separate issue.
No, that's right. That's exactly right.
Completely unrelated.
Funny, but I think, John, you have a good point.
Well, what you said, too, about having to have the blends tested, a lot of people don't realize it's not just, sending it off to a lab. It's very expensive to do, have it tested.
In some cases, per unit that you would actually have to send off and have tested. I mean, we're talking, depending on the product, several $100,000. I mean, you're talking to a retailer who, in a good year, does $250,000, gross revenue. It's just it's ludicrous. I mean, it's literally we're the definition of a mom and pop shop.
Yeah.
And the whole environment is just it would be completely unworkable for us. So people are like, man, you sure chose to buy a old-fashioned tobacco shop at a very interesting time. And I just I try to have faith and fight hard and work hard and hope people keep supporting us, and maybe a few of the cards will fall our way.
Well,
we'll see.
What you're doing, though, is very unique because, like a lot of these shops that I visited today, these shops are run by really old people, have been around forever. But you've taken this traditional tobacconist, the tobacco shop, and brought it into our century by, you have a podcast, you sell online.
Right.
I mean, I see your stuff on social media. It lives outside of just the brick and mortar store in Jackson, which is pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. Our average age of our customer has plummeted. When I started working there, I think the average age of our customer was probably in his late 50s. I would say probably mid to late 50s, and I think I'd be very accurate in saying now the average age of our customer is probably early 30s, probably around my age. We've got it's not just college kids either. People are like, oh, I bet it's just college kids experimenting and this kind of stuff. And, we have our element of that. We certainly have a bunch of college kids come in and, they want to look like Gandalf or something like that. But there is some of that. But it's a lot of young professionals. It's a lot of young attorneys and accountants and, even doctors and, just school teachers, people that are just trying to make sense of their evenings, after work and before putting their kids down for bed and things like that. And so, it's really cool. We have kind of tapped into a lot of energy in the younger community with pipe smoking. And I'm very proud of that. I really am. I think we've worked hard at that. We try to be real aggressive and, kind of bringing our vision of what pipe smoking is about to social media. And of course have our podcast. Country Squire Radio is the #1 pipe smoking podcast in the world. And even as I say that, I feel like I need to just draw it back in. But it's actually true. It is. We have so many downloads across the entire world. So it's something I never thought I'd get involved in. My counterpart. If you've listened to Country Squire Radio, you'll know that I do it with my friend Bo York, who is just a real dear friend of mine, one of my closest friends, and much more outgoing and much more aggressive business-wise than I am and all this stuff. And just a really great guy, really fun. But anyway, Bo, had this idea. He was like, look, we both smoke a pipe. Let's try to do a podcast. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And it's just, he kind of bounced the idea back and forth. He convinced me to try it out. And, I thought, we'll do this for a little bit and, see where it goes. Maybe a few of our friends will listen or something. And, and 1 month went by and 2 months went by and a year went by and we're about to do our 200th episode here, in just a few weeks. So pretty wild.
That's crazy.
Wild.
And I listened to them.
It's been great.
Well, it's funny that you could do 200 episodes on pipe smoking and still not really talk about the same thing. Like, because I've listened to it, for about a year. You know what I mean? Like, and it's still very interesting. And it's the element of, the kind of chat show and you get to know,
right.
you and Bo as people, or as, you feel like, oh, these guys are my friends. I listen to them every week. And so
that's right.
That's what
it's strange. People regularly ask me, they're like, where do you come up with new content? Like, you do this every week. Like, you think about, even with all the things involved in pipe smoking, what, don't you run out of stuff to talk about every week? We're talking about pipe smoking here. It's like, trying to, have a podcast on the events of the 1860s or something. This week, Abraham Lincoln shaved himself. So I don't know. Anyway, it's just, honestly, I think a lot of our material comes from, the people that we've gotten to know. I think a lot of our material comes from our customers and friends that have found us through Country Squire Radio, and then email us, call us, or walk in the door. Wow. And that's really dictated by that, which is cool, because I feel like in that way we're kind of letting them letting the community drive the ship as well as us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
A lot of our material comes straight from them. But it's interesting. As a tobacconist, you just see something different every single day. You just do. And so I've gotten into long discussions with seasoned pipe smokers about why this pipe cleaner is better than this pipe cleaner. And for that guy, that could be a whole episode.
Yeah.
So it's you just never know where it's going to take you.
Yeah.
But Bo and I, we have a lot of fun. We have always just kind of marveled at the things that come our way. as far as listener feedback and involvement and things like that. So we have a good time. We really do, and yeah, for some reason we keep it going every week.
Well, it brings me to this question for John here. John has never actually smoked a pipe. He wants to.
I've pretended many times.
He's pretended many times. What would he do to get started? What would he need to get? What does he need to be equipped with to get started smoking his first pipe? Yeah,
man, great question. It's kind of like give me the 4-point starter kit.
Yeah.
I think what you need at the most simple level is a pipe. You can do a briar pipe or a corncob pipe, either way. You can get those at anywhere from certain types of drugstores in America. Walgreens is one of the main ones you can walk into still and get a tobacco pipe, all the way to a premium tobacconist. So go get you a pipe. You'll need a tamper. It's very key. Tamper is how you keep your pipe lit. And a tamper is, I wish I had one in front of me right now. I don't actually. All my pipe stuff is on the porch. But yeah, Jordan's got a tamper there. Okay. And your tamper is kind of the tool that you use to stoke the fire up while you're smoking your pipe. So you have to treat your pipe like a little campfire. You can't just light your campfire and it goes all night. You have to tend to it to keep it lit. You have to keep adding energy to it in order to keep it lit, keep moving the logs around so the ones that are growing cold can get warm. Is your tool for doing that. And then obviously you need some tobacco. And we recommend the tobacco from the Country Squire. Although there's some really real legendary tobaccos out there that are great to get started on. Tobaccos like Lane's BCA, Lane's 1Q. You've got blends from people like Mac Baren, Scottish Mixture, Virginia No. 1. There's just on and on about great tobaccos to start on. And then finally, you need some pipe cleaners, just some simple pipe cleaners. And it's funny, at our shop, we have this huge rack of pipe cleaners because we're a pipe shop. And regularly people will come in and stare at these pipe cleaners, and it's their first time in a shop like mine. And they look at these pipe cleaners and they look at me and then they say, "I didn't know those were for a pipe." For them, pipe cleaners was always that was the thing that you made a little giraffe with in kindergarten. Like you never actually cleaned a literal pipe with a pipe cleaner.
You got fancy with them. I just made rings.
Oh man, I know. You just green. You had the green and the blue ones. You play them all together, and it's just it's crazy. But yeah, pipe cleaners are actually John for pipes, and so. When you take your first pipe adventure, you'll need a pipe, a tamper, tobacco, and your pipe cleaners, and at that point you're ready to go.
All right, I'll make a list.
Well, what?
That's it.
Now we just got to get Stephanie on board.
Like Jordan said, because I think that's back in the 70s there were tobacco shops like mine scattered all over the country and probably Canada as well and elsewhere. But as time has gone on, if you find a premium tobacco shop now, it's very likely to be a cigar shop, and so they might carry a bunch of cigars. And then they'll have their little pipe corner that will be relegated to. They might have a couple of Nording pipes or maybe a Peterson. I don't know, but at the on the certainly some corncob pipes or something like that. And typically those shops don't do any hand blending of tobacco or anything like that. It's just prepackaged stuff that you'll get. Or they a lot of folks you'll see they might sell let's say like Lane 1Q. But they'll sell it under a different name. So they'll sell it as, their house mix or whatever, when really it's just a renamed product. So anyway, the reason I say all this is, 20, 30 years ago, you could have found a local brick and mortar tobacconist where you could have walked in to a place like the Country Squire and had someone, just sit down with you for 5 minutes and show you, how to load your pipe, how to select the tobacco for that specific pipe, the best way to light the pipe and tamp the pipe and to keep it lit, and then how to care for your pipe. And it's really just 5 minutes of discussion, but it's 5 minutes that now is really hard to come by. I think that's why Country Squire Radio is so popular, is because we can kind of be that outlet for people that don't have a country squire in their town.
Yeah.
So if we were doing this podcast 30 years ago, I'd be like, wow, where did you get this futuristic technology? That's awesome. But then I would also say you need to go down the street to your local pipe shop and sit down with the guy, and he would teach you how to smoke your pipe. And but man, one thing about the pipe community, if you are in a place that doesn't have a shop like that, pipe smokers we're patient, interesting, loving people. Yeah. So if you will get a hold of someone on a forum, or even call a shop, call a shop in a neighboring state or maybe a couple hours away, and just kind of tell them what's going on. Someone that is versed in pipes is going to be very pleased to sit down with you, or at least spend some time with you over the phone. Yeah. And kind of explain some stuff to you. And so there's also great resources on YouTube and other things as well. It doesn't beat sitting down one-on-one with someone, but there's really a lot of information online that can help. So
it's great, fantastic.
It's funny that we're talking about all this kind of how there's this pipe kind of community online. And last week we had a guy on named Douglas Smythe, and he hosts this thing called the Big Shave West, which is a wet shaving convention where, just like pipe smokers, there's just a bunch of people that like to shave with old razors and old products, and they get together and have like a Comic-Con of shaving.
It's awesome. And I mean, yeah, the pipe industry is benefiting from this, and so we're obviously thankful for that. But let's think about what's going on here. Okay, yeah. We're having conventions for people that use a certain type of razor. Like we're having conventions for people that write in their journals just as often as everyone else. The only difference is they use a fountain pen. Whole hotels full of these people. It's funny, and obviously the same is true for pipes and folks that make beard oil and all this other stuff. And it's there's something beautiful about that. There's something beautiful about assigning some form of meaning to something that could be overlooked as very small or menial. You're taking something that you do every day in a very maybe unobserved way, and you're assigning some value to it, and you're saying this is important, and how I treat this is an important thing, and so I want to do it the best way I can. I want to give it everything, and make it just a little more meaningful and interesting. And so so you have wet shaving conferences, and I think it's great.
It's pretty cool. It's quite an age. Well, thank you so much, John David, for coming on. And where can people find you? What people want to buy a blend? Where can they go?
Man, yeah, and not just buy a blend, but also if we can ever be a resource for a new pipe smoker, someone that's never smoked a pipe, but is interested in smoking a pipe, we'd love to help them out. Yeah, our website is thecountrysquireonline.com, and there you can read more about our ancient pipe shop and kind of what we do there. You can order online, all that, but. I highly encourage you to check out our podcast, which is Country Squire Radio, and you can get it at countrysquireradio.com or on iTunes, and it just would be a good resource for people to kind of keep up with us, hear about news in the pipe world, and things of that nature. And also follow me on Twitter at John David Cole. John is with no H; it's just Jon, short for Jonathan.
Oh, we're about to have a John war here.
What's that now?
So we're about to have a John war.
So at John David Cole, or you can get us at our shop's Twitter, which is @_Country Squire. So awesome. Any of those places, we'd love to keep up with you, and hopefully we'll be always shooting out some interesting things to brighten your day and maybe occasionally make you laugh. So
yeah,
good.
Definitely. Well, thanks again, and we'll have to follow up with you and see where John is with that pipe in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's right.
Give me a few weeks and I'll work on it for sure.
That's right. I look forward to hearing about your adventures, and I'm sure you'll have several terrible failures, but maybe in there you'll have a couple of good successes.
I'm good at those. I'm really good at those.
Well practiced. So, yeah.
All right, that was a delightful segment there with John David. I've been a fan of his for years, and you know what we should do? We should get him to make a Gentleman Scofflaw custom blend.
I'd like that.
What would it have? Like, I guess it would taste maybe like a little bit of whiskey, a little bit of like woody kind of cedary.
Yeah,
Maple syrup.
Yeah, keep that up there.
It'd have to be fancy, but it also have an edge.
That would be I say crushed Oreos. Let's throw that in there.
That's a new blend. All right. And now's the time we're going to announce the giveaway winner, which last week we announced a giveaway for Big Shave West, where we had some products from Edwin Jagger to give away, along with some of our own swag. And we randomly selected a winner. And what we're going to announce now, right? Drum roll, guys.
Joy to the world.
All right. And John, who is the winner of the Big Shave West giveaway?
Aaron the Shaver.
You were supposed to say Donovan.
What?
I'm kidding. I wanted
That
it for
wasn't
myself,
funny at
guys.
all.
You wanted it for yourself.
I wanted it for myself.
You were messing with us. All right. So Aaron the Shaver, you win a shaving cream and an aftershave from Edwin Jagger, and one of our Gentleman Scofflaw flasks, so you can take your drink with you to the movie theater. And and the runners
like the sound
up,
of that.
We've randomly selected 5 runners up to also receive some swag from us. And who are those people, Donovan?
The runners up are the Beer Baron, Solomon Crates, Dan Shaves, Hink 76, and Michael Morrison 1518.
All right, guys. So, you guys keep an eye out for a direct message in your inbox to send us a good mailing address for you, so you can get those prizes. And now we'd like to thank our patrons on Patreon. We had a couple new patrons this week, and we'd like to thank Aaron Liu, who joined us at the Scofflaw level to support the show, and also Darren and Francine, who joined at the Renaissance Man / woman level, which those are my parents, guys. So my parents are supporting us at that level for $5 an episode. So thank you, Mom and Dad.
Thank you, Mr. and
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Crowder.
If you want to support the show, if you're a fan of the show, you can support us for as little as $1 an episode on Patreon, and there's a bunch of different perks you can get for that. For example, this last week, we went to the Big Shave West 3, and we recorded a bonus episode, which is on there on Patreon.
Yep.
And also,
We had a female wet shaver on that bonus episode.
We did. We
Pretty
had a female
interesting
wet
stuff.
shaver.
Yeah, that was something else.
Yeah, so $1.
Calm down, Donovan.
I'm just saying, it threw me for a loop.
Oh no! So $1 an episode is cheaper than a cup of coffee for one day. Although I don't know who's giving up coffee.
Well, yeah. Well,
Who's
where are
gonna
you
give up
going to get your
for this?
coffee?
I get coffee for free.
No, I'm saying if you spend, so it's $1 an episode, right?
Yeah.
So if you did like, if you gave up coffee for one day, you could support the show for the whole month.
But I'd have to give up coffee.
Well, I don't know. That's you got to see if that's where you're willing, to sacrifice.
Well, what if I'm getting coffee for free?
Well, then
In your case, it's tea,
then
okay?
if you're getting coffee for free, then that money that you would have spent on coffee, you could support the show then.
Well, who says I would have bought a coffie anyway?
Look at this. Look at this
All right,
obstinate
all right.
Canadian and just getting in our way
These
everywhere.
cheap
Is that the
French
right word,
Canadians. No, by no means do you have to support the show on there. I'm just saying if you enjoy the show and you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/gentscofflaw. We also have a new merch page on our website. If you click shop on gentlemanscofflaw.com, there's a few little goodies, t-shirts, all sorts of stuff you can browse through, and anything purchased on there goes to support the show. All right, and well, all of the stuff that we discuss on this show is available on our website, gentlemanscofflaw.com. All the links are in the show notes on our website. And so anything that we discuss on here, you could go on there. If we discussed an article or a movie, or if we
I
discussed a
don't
product,
think Schindler's List is on the website.
I could put Schindler's List. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
We could IMDb it so you could
You
read
could
about
put
Schindler's
the
List.
actual list
Yeah.
in the notes.
I could. Although it would take up a lot of scrolling space on our website. But just go to our website, gentlemanscofflaw.com, for all of those things. Also, all the links to all of our social media are on there. John, you are a gentleman and a scofflaw, my friend. Donovan,
Yes.
you're also a gentleman and scofflaw, my friend.
Thank you.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get anything. You ungrateful, you ungrateful bastards.
You're a scofflaw and a gentleman, sir. And a cad.
You're
Meet me at dawn.
All right, now we're getting off the rails. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the show, and we hope that you have a great weekend.
This has been the Gentleman's Scofflaw Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. Visit us on the interwebs at gentlemanscofflaw.com.
Captain says his ice on the river. We ain't getting home if we don't break through. So damn cold, I can't help but shiver. Rise and shine, we got work to do. Hey! Captain says his ice on the river. We ain't getting home if we don't break through. So damn cold, I can't help but shiver.